Now the urine formation takes place in 3 steps. Now which are those steps? Glomerular filtration, reabsorption and secretion. So how it starts? By glomerular filtration. So how does it take place? You know the structure of the Bowman's capsule. Now this efferent arteriole, it's the artery which comes from dorsal aorta. It forms the bunch of capillaries. There is lot of pressure in the capillaries. So filtration will take place. Now the first layer for filtration is the endothelium of the capillaries. These are capillaries. The endome is inside, the layer of inside. So the inside layer of the capillaries, all the plasma will pass through. Only the proteins will remain inside. Proteins won't come out. Only the plasma, all the substance of plasma except the protein will come out. So the first layer of filtration is endothelium of this glomerular capillaries. It will pass through the basement membrane. There is a basement membrane which is present. It will pass through basement membrane and then it will pass through the epithelium of this Bowman's capsule. This epithelium is made up of special cells which are known as podocytes. Podocytes are the cells which have legs. They are intricately arranged in such a manner that the legs are like this and there are slit and space present in between which will allow the urine, allow the substance to pass in and come in this lumen, the cavity, come in this cup-shaped structure, the lumen, the cavity. So it has passed through 3 layers. That is the endothelium of the glomerular capillaries basement membrane and the epithelium of the Bowman's capsule and passed into the lumen. All the substance of plasma has come through the pressure except the protein. Proteins are still inside. Now since this filtration is in the ultrastructure, so this filtration which passes through this epithelium of the Bowman's capsule, this filtration is known as ultrafiltration. So how much blood is filtered? This is glomerular filtration pressure which makes the blood filtered. So how much blood is filtered? 1100 to 1200 blood is filtered through the glomerular capillary blood pressure. So here it is 1/5 of the blood pumped by each ventricle. Ventricle of the heart pumps blood. It is around 5 liters. So how much? It is 1/5 of the blood which is filtered by the ventricles of the heart. So this is the ultrafiltration which takes place in the Bowman's capsule. Now the function of the tubules. After the ultrafiltration which takes place in glomerulus, it comes into the cup-shaped structure, the filtrate. What is filtered? That is filtrate which has come here. Now it will come into the tubules. This is the proximal convoluted tubule. This is distal convoluted tubule. This is loop of Henle's. And this part is in the cortex region, the upper part, and this is in the medulla region. So here, now as the filtrate has come into the proximal convoluted tubule, what will happen? Now reabsorption will take place. in addition to that, secretion will take place to maintain the pH and the ionic balance of the fluid of the body fluid. So here in this proximal convoluted tubule, now this is lined by the cuboidal cells, cube-like cells, which has hair-like structure to increase the area of absorption. Reabsorption has to take place in this area to absorb whatever substance is required. So here cuboidal cells, it absorbs 70 to 80% of electrolytes and the water. So this region is lined by cuboidal cell, which has hair-like structure to increase the area of absorption. What it absorbs? It absorbs bicarbonate, it absorbs salt, it absorbs water, it absorbs nutrient, it absorbs potassium, and it secretes hydrogen and ammonia inside. So secretion of hydrogen and ammonia takes place, and this is how exchange of useful substance takes place in the proximal convoluted tubule. Now this urine, the filtrate which has come, now will come into the loop of Henle's. Here loop of Henle's got the descending limb and the ascending limb. So now it is coming in the descending limb. This is in the medullary region. This is in the cortex region. Now it has come into the medullary region. It is descending in the descending limb. While descending, it will give out all the water. All the water will be given out while descending. It has got water and electrolyte. So now it is descending. It has given out all the water. What is inside? Only the electrolytes, hydrogen, sodium, potassium. Only the electrolytes are present in it. So now it has become concentrated. Water is out and electrolytes are inside. Very less of water and more of electrolyte. So it is concentrated. Here in the descending limb, it has concentrated. Water gone out and electrolytes inside. Little water will be there with more of electrolytes. So it is concentrated. Now this concentrated filtrate will now move into this ascending limb. Now ascending limb. Now this descending limb was permeable to water and not permeable to electrolyte. That is why it has given all water and not given the electrolytes. Now reverse will take place in the ascending limb. It is impermeable to water and permeable to electrolytes. Water is not going to enter. Neither it will come out nor it will enter. It will not enter because it is impermeable to water, but it is permeable to electrolytes. So now this electrolytes inside, which is concentrated. So now they will come out because they are permeable by active or passive permeability. They will come out. So now this was very concentrated. As it moves, it becomes dilute, comparatively dilute. So dilution takes place. Now after this ascending limb, it will enter into the distal convoluted tubule. Now here again the pH, the ionic balance of the body fluid has to be maintained. Secretion of potassium, hydrogen, ammonia will take place here in this distal convoluted tubule. Like how here hydrogen, ammonia, potassium, hydrogen, ammonia will take place in distal convoluted tubule. Also secretion will take place. Your secretion is not something like how you secrete enzyme. The secretion is of the ion. Ionic balance is very important for the exchange of the ions. Now here secretion takes place because they have to maintain the ionic balance here. And what will come out due to the secretions? salt. Sodium chloride will come out, water will come out, bicarbonate will come out. That is absorption of salt, nutrient, bicarbonate, all this absorption will take place, because in this tubules will be the waste material. Waste material has to go out, and whatever beneficial substance has to be reabsorbed. So here salt is reabsorbed, water is reabsorbed, bicarbonate is reabsorbed. Secretion of potassium, hydrogen, ammonia takes place. After this, it will come into the collecting tubule. Collecting tubule starts from the cortex and continues into the medulla. Here, up till here is the cortex, here medulla, this part is in cortex, this part is in cortex, medulla. But collecting tubule, you can see it is there in the cortex as well as medulla. Here absorption of water takes place. If you drink lot of water will be collected in this collecting tubule. Now, for managing the interstitial fluid, pH and the ion, managing the pH and the ionic balance of the interstitial medullary fluid, here some urea is secreted. Urea is secreted, and that will be again absorbed here and sent for the cycle. But here this collecting tubule will secrete some urea for this medullary interstitium to maintain the osmolarity. That is, water and electrolyte balance has to be maintained. Therefore, it will secrete some urea. Now, if there's lot of water, then more water will be absorbed. If you did not drink much water, then less water will be absorbed. And this collecting tubule will send it to the ureter for excretion. Now the filtration takes place in the glomerulus. Now this glomerulus filtration rate or glomerular filtration rate is maintained. How much is that? 125 ml per minute. And if you calculate in a day, it is 180 liter per day. The filtration rate is maintained. How it is maintained? By certain specialized cells. Those cells are known as juxtaglomerular apparatus. Where are those cells present? In between the distal convoluted cells and arteriole. The arteriole and the distal convoluted tubule in between, in the place of the contact, there are certain sensitive cells which are present. Those cells are known as juxtaglomerular cells. Juxtaglomerular cells. Now, as soon as the filtration rate falls, comes down, it gets stimulated. When it is stimulated, it produces a substance which is renin. What renin does? It stimulates the glomerulus blood flow. It stimulates the blood flowing in the glomerulus, and the GFR is back to normal. Glomerular filtration rate is back to normal. Why? Because the glomerulus blood flow is maintained, and what maintains? The chemical renin, which is produced by the juxtaglomerular cells, which is at the junction of the arteriole and distal convoluted tubule, and it forms juxtaglomerular apparatus. So this is how it works. JGA, special sensitive region. It maintains the filtration rate. Now, even though we produce 180 liter per day, but we excrete only 1.5 liter a day because of reabsorption. 99% water is reabsorbed. Now, certain other substances are also absorbed, which are glucose, amino acids, sodium. They are absorbed actively, whereas nitrogenous waste, they are absorbed passively, and water sometimes actively and passively. Now, the function of the kidney is regulated and monitored by hormonal feedback mechanism. What is that? The hormone controls the function of the kidney, and it is there in the blood to regulate its function, and as the hormone goes on increasing, it gives signal to the hypothalamus to stop the hormone. So let us see how the regulation takes place. Now, in the kidney has to be maintained, the blood pressure in the kidney has to be maintained, the fluid in the tubule has to be maintained, the concentration has to be maintained in the kidney. Now, kidney throws out urine. The urine has to be regulated, excess cannot be thrown out. So here the kidney, the glomerular flow rate has to be maintained, because blood is there in the glomerulus continuously flowing, the rate has to be maintained. So here, when in kidney, the pressure has to be maintained. Now in the body there are osmoreceptors. Osmoreceptors are there in our body, which maintains the body fluid level. They maintain the blood volume, they maintain the body fluid volume, and they maintain the ionic concentration. They are osmoreceptor in our body. Now, this osmoreceptor, they will be affected by this if the blood volume is not maintained, if the body fluid volume is not maintained, if the ionic concentration is not maintained, this osmoreceptor will be affected. Now, this excessive loss of fluid will affect the hypothalamus, that is the part of the brain. Attached to hypothalamus is neurohypophysis. It will stimulate the neurohypophysis to release a hormone. Which is that hormone? Neurohypophysis is for releasing the hormone vasopressin. It releases oxytocin also, but here what is it? Stimulates to release which hormone? Vasopressin. Vasopressin is released. It is also known as ADH, antidiuretic hormone. Now, this vasopressin and antidiuretic hormone will affect the osmoreceptor. So it will constrict the glomerulus, and therefore increase the blood flow in the glomerulus, and therefore the GFR, and increase the absorption rate. Absorption rate will be increased. That is how ADH or vasopressin, both are same, they affect the osmoreceptors, which are present in the body. Now, after this constriction has taken place, water has been reabsorbed, then this osmoreceptor will send a signal to the hypothalamus, which will affect the neurohypophysis to stop the secretion of vasopressin, ADH. That is how the regulation takes place of the hormones, that is hormonal feedback mechanism. Here, from the osmoreceptors affected by the excessive loss of fluid affects the hypothalamus, which stimulates the neurohypophysis to release vasopressin or ADH, antidiuretic hormone, and it affects the osmoreceptors, and then reabsorption of water takes place to prevent the diuresis. Hypothalamus is stimulated, which stimulates the neurohypophysis to stop the production of ADH, vasopressin. So this is the hormonal feedback mechanism which happens here. This is the hormonal feedback mechanism. Now another hormone is acting. Now kidney has got the juxtaglomerulus apparatus, which is a complex regulatory apparatus which plays a very complex role. So how does it plays the role? Now whenever the pressure drops in the glomerulus, the JG cells, juxtaglomerulus cells, they release this renin. It's a hormone which releases renin. Now there is a chain. Renin leads to the formation of angiotensinogen. Renin leads to the formation of angiotensinogen, which will release angiotensin 1, which will get converted into angiotensin 2. So renin, from renin, angiotensinogen, and then angiotensin 1, angiotensin 2. Now this angiotensin 2 is a powerful vasoconstrictor, vascular tissue. It constricts the blood vessels. So it's a powerful blood vessel constrictor. It narrows the blood vessels. This hormone angiotensin 2, which is a powerful vasoconstrictor. Now this constrictor constricts the glomerulus. Now this glomerulus, when constricted, will increase the flow of blood in the glomerulus. So it will increase the GFR. Now when the GFR is increased, the release of renin stops. So this is the JGA apparatus. Now this is JGA complex, which helps to regulate the function of the glomerulus, regulates the blood pressure of the glomerulus. So this renin leads to the constriction of the glomerulus. So this part, this is one part, this is another part. Now angiotensin 2 is also stimulates the adrenal cortex. Now the cortex, the tissue with the gland which you can see about the kidney, adrenal gland. So this angiotensin 2 stimulates this adrenal cortex to release another hormone, which is that hormone aldosterone. Now this aldosterone, it helps in reabsorption of sodium and water. See, water and the electrolytes, they have to be maintained. So it helps in reabsorption of sodium and water. So it has absorbed the useful substances. Now it will increase the blood pressure of the glomerulus. So increase in blood pressure increases the GFR. GFR is glomerulus filtrate rate. It will happen in the kidney. So your GFR has increased due to this hormone, and GFR is increased to this hormone, and GFR is increased due to the this aldosterone. So ADH, aldosterone, and this angiotensinogen, these are the hormones for increasing the GFR. Now, in addition to the hypothalamus in the brain, this JGA in the kidney, there's another structure, heart. Now, when the blood flow in the heart increases through the atria. Atria. Now, excess amount of blood is going in the heart through the in the atria. It cannot be. It has to stop. So there is another factor which reduces the flow in the atria and causes constriction. By causing constriction, it reduces the blood flow. With that factor is known as atrial natriuretic factor. Atrial natriuretic factor reduces the blood flow in the atria, but simultaneously it also causes this factor is for vasodilation, vasodilation, constriction of the artery. So here this vasodilation also increases the blood pressure in the glomerulus. The pressure in the glomerulus increases due to the increase in the blood pressure, and therefore the GFR is increased, the blood flow is increased, and the cycle goes on. So these three structures, that is the brain, heart and kidney, all this regulate the functioning of the kidney. They monitor the kidney where the excess amount of urine or excess amount of the body fluid should not go. If you drink more water, you excrete out more urine, but the concentration is less. But if you drink less amount of water, less urine will be given, but concentration is more. So all this is maintained by this complex process. By this is regulated in the kidney by this complex process of hypothalamus, atria, kidney. So the hormones which are responsible, ADH or vasopressin. Vasopressin, ADH, both are same. And your renin, which makes a cycle, angiotensinogen, renin gets converted into angiotensinogen, which gets converted into angiotensin 1, which gets converted into angiotensin 2. So, yeah, this is a powerful constrictor which increases the GFR. So, now this hormone and addition angiotensin 2, a powerful vascular constrictor, also stimulates the adrenal cortex to release aldosterone, which helps in reabsorption of sodium and water. And it increases the blood pressure, which increases the GFR in the glomerulus, in the kidney. So this cycle, this is one cycle, this is one cycle, and this is the third cycle. By this cycle, the blood volume is maintained, blood fluid is maintained, ionic concentration is maintained in the body. So this is how the regulation in the functioning of the kidney takes. Now, micturition is a process of release of urine. Now, how does the urine gets passed through the urinary bladder? It is collected by the nephron in the urinary bladder. The bladder is a bag-like structure which gets stretched due to the collection of the urine. There are stretch receptors which are present on the urinary bladder. They send message to the central nervous system, the stretch receptor, that now the bag is full now, it has to be released. So now this central nervous system, they send motor message for the contraction of the urinary bladder. It has to contract to release it, and there's a wall which has to open, urethral wall, urethral sphincter, which has to open so that the urine gets passed through it. So it is the central nervous system which is controlling, and that is known, that neural mechanism is known as micturition reflex. So this is how the release of the urine take place by the stretch receptor sending message to the central nervous system sending a message by the motor nerves. So the relaxation takes place, the urethral sphincter opens, and the wall of the univertebral contracts to release the urine outside. That's a reflex that is known as the micturition reflex, and that is the neural mechanism, that is the micturition reflex. That is how the release of urine takes place. Now urine is yellow straw color fluid, and it releases urea, so it has got special smell, and that urea is around 25 to 30 grams. That is the normal urine. Now there is urine test. Whenever there is metabolic disorders, the doctor will tell you to do urine test. Now through urine test you might know various diseases. One of the diseases, whenever the amount of glucose in the body increases, that is the metabolic disorder. So that is known as glycosuria. And ketone bodies, that is known as ketonuria. Now when this substance increase, that's the metabolic disorder, and you will have various problems. So doctor will tell you to get the test done, and when you have this substance in your urine, that means you are suffering from diabetes mellitus. Your glucose level is more and it is not getting used up in the body, or it is not getting converted into glycogen. So the clinical diagnosis can be done about the malfunctioning of the kidney, about the metabolic disorders, so that you know which disease you are suffering from, and the desired medicines can be taken. Now, role of the other organs for the excretion. Now, lungs, it gives out carbon dioxide and water vapor. Now, the amount of carbon dioxide is 200 ml per minute. It gives out carbon dioxide, which is waste substance. Now, the liver, it's the largest gland of our body, which does all the chemical changes. Whatever waste production has taken place, it has to pack it out through the digestive waste. So here bilirubin, the yellow color of the excreta, is due to bilirubin and biliverdin, which is produced in the liver, and cholesterol, degraded steroids, whatever the extra cholesterol which is not required, and degraded steroid hormones, the hormones which are required for us is taken in, the extra hormone has to be excreted to the digestive waste. So hormones, now with vitamins, now some some vitamins are stored, oil soluble vitamins are stored in the body, but water soluble vitamins like C and B12, they have to be excreted out. So who will do it? Liver will give in the excretory waste to digestive waste. It will give out the extra vitamins which are not required by our body. So bilirubin, biliverdin, cholesterol which is not required, degraded steroid hormones, vitamins, drugs is the medicine which you take in. Supposing you take crocin, whatever work it has to do, but it has got waste, it has to be thrown out to the digestive waste so that it doesn't affect our body. So that is a waste. Now, so all liver does the giving out of or throwing out of all this waste to have good health for us. Now, sweat. Sweat is for cooling our body. Whenever you feel hot, then you sweat a lot because it has to cool. But while sweating, you give out lot of waste. Extra NaCl is given out, some urea is also given out, and lactic acid. See, whenever the anaerobic respiration is done by the muscles, lactic acid is produced. If it is there in the muscle, you have pain in the muscle. It has to be given out. So if you sweat out, it is given out through the sweat. So sweat gives out NaCl, urea, lactic acid. Now sebaceous gland thing release sebum. The waxy coating over our body is sebum. Now the sebaceous glands, they secrete sebum, that is the oily covering of the skin. But in that oily covering you have sterols, that is the cholesterol, hydrocarbons and waxes to give a smooth surface, make it very smooth skin, but it gives out waste. So when you are taking bath, you give out all this waste, sebum, then the dead cells, all you when you take bath, all of that waste is removed. Now saliva, so many times you spit. When you're spitting, you some waste which is present, like urea is present in saliva, so when you spit through saliva, you give out the waste urea. Now some disorders of excretory system. Now sometimes the functioning of the kidney would not be normal. It would not excrete due to the malfunctioning of the kidney. It would not excrete urea. So urea will be there in the blood. The body will be swollen. The functioning would not be normal. So now this urea, when it is in excess, uremia, urea accumulation due to the malfunctioning of the kidney, it has to be excreted out, thrown out. So how it is going to be done? It will be done due to dialysis, or it is hemodialysis, because hemo means blood. The excreta has to be removed from the blood so that the blood becomes normal. So it is known as hemodialysis. Blood drained from convenient artery. It has to be taken out from whichever artery. Accumulation is throughout blood. So whichever suitable artery, blood is taken out. Now, as soon as the blood comes out, it coagulates, becomes thick. So heparin has to be added, that is the anticoagulant in the blood. Now it has to come out into the tubes which are similar to the tubes of the kidney, which are made up of cellophane. They are minute tubes. The blood is taken in those tubes. Heparin is added, anticoagulant is added, it comes into the tube. Now it is surrounded by a fluid that has the substances similar to plasma. It has constitution similar to plasma. So now this cellophane tube, they have the blood which is full of nitrogenous waste. Outside plasma which does not have waste. So due to the concentration gradient, the nitrogenous waste comes out of the cellophane tube. It comes out. Now the blood inside is free of waste and the waste has come out, and due to the different tube, it has to be put inside the artery. So now first heparin is added, anticoagulant. Now anti-heparin has to be added when it is pumped inside the artery. So this is how the circulation takes place. This is how the hemodialysis takes place. This is a big thing for the patient who cannot excrete out urea. It is for their survival that they have to carry out hemodialysis, otherwise it would cause stroke death. So blood drained from convenient artery is pumped into the dialysing unit. This is the dialysing unit, is also known as artificial kidney. Why? Because it is behaving, it is doing work like a kidney. So it is a artificial kidney. So it is made up of cellophane tubes surrounded by a fluid having the same composition of plasma except the nitrogenous waste. So that nitrogenous waste comes out due to the concentration gradient. This is how the artificial kidney works. Now this is one of the failure of the excretory system. Now sometimes stones are caused in the kidney. You must have heard many times, stone in the kidney, that has to be removed. There are methods to remove this, but why does it happens? Now the oxalates. The oxalates which you get through spinach, beetroot, various foods, everyone takes in oxalate, but in some cases calcium combines with this oxalate to form calcium oxalate, and they form crystals which have stone-like appearance, which causes immense pain in the person who is suffering from stone in the kidney. So these are oxalates, crystallized salts. This disease is known as renal calculi because that's calcium oxalates, calculi, renal calculi. So this is the failure of the excretory organ. This is a disorder in the excretory organ. So the stone has to be removed for the proper functioning, for the pain to go out. Now, sometimes inflammation might be caused in glomerulus, so that is known as glomerulonephritis. Glomerulonephritis, inflammation in the glomerulus. So doctor will give you anti-inflammatory so that the inflammation goes off. Now, sometimes there is complete failure of the kidney. The kidney does not work at all. So the transplantation of the kidney has to take place. Now, transplantation is not so easy because something outside comes in your body tries to throw out, and it might cause death. But if the blood group is matched, the tissue is matched, most probably it has to be your relative's kidney, so that tissue matches, and if everything goes well, transplantation takes place, the transplantation is success, and both are living a healthy life.